Here's the bottom line. If Ripple aligns three pieces between now and 2030, a compliant stablecoin, institutional-grade custody, and a neutral settlement asset, XRP can power payments and redemptions behind the scenes in places where end users never even see it. By the end, you'll have a simple 7-point weekly radar you can screenshot and use to track whether that scenario is actually taking shape. No hype, just a system you can follow. Start with context. After years of uncertainty, the most painful legal overhangs eased in 2023, giving Ripple space to operate with mainstream institutions. In Singapore, it secured a major payment institution license. Boring, yes, but banks care about licenses, not memes. Around the same time, Ripple acquired Metaco, an institutional custody platform used by large financial firms. That was a clear tell. Stop being just a token company. Start offering the stack institutions recognize, regulated rails, professional custody, and integration pathways into existing back-office systems. On the network side, the XRP ledger added automated market makers and kept pushing programmability via hooks and an EVM sidechain. And in 2024, Ripple announced RLUSD, a USD-backed stablecoin slated to live on XRPL and Ethereum. Put those pieces together: a compliant face for UIs and regulators, a custody spine for tokenized assets, and a fast, neutral asset, XRP, to collapse spreads and finalize settlement. The core idea is a dual liquidity model. On one side sits a transparent, auditable stablecoin institutions can plug into payment flows without tripping risk committees. On the other side sits XRP, designed to move quickly across corridors and close liquidity gaps in seconds. Stablecoin answers the "can we use this" question. XRP answers the "how fast and how cheap" question. Give institutions both dials, compliance, confidence, and cost control, and you create adoption paths that don't require retail to ever think about what happened under the hood. Zoom out to tokenization because it frames the entire decade. Bonds, money market funds, credit instruments, invoices, commodities, even cash-flowing real estate are moving on-chain. Tokenization doesn't make those assets speculative. It makes them programmable and available 24/7 with auditable state. But for tokenization to scale, two boring problems must be solved. Who custodies those assets at an institutional standard? And how do payouts, redemptions, and rebalancing settle instantly without operational drag? Metaco points to the first answer. XRPL plus XRP points to the second. The custody layer convinces compliance. The settlement layer keeps the experience smooth and cheap. Make it concrete with two quick examples. First, an SME in Malaysia pays a supplier in Germany. The buyer initiates in a USD stablecoin with compliance metadata. At the corridor midpoint, routing logic uses XRP to net the flow in seconds and compress the FX spread. On arrival, the supplier receives euros. The only thing either side notices is that the payment arrived faster with lower fees. They never see XRP on the screen, yet it and an AMM pool did the heavy lifting that made the economics work. Second, a tokenized money market fund redemption on a Saturday. The platform burns fund tokens and owes stablecoins or fiat immediately. There's a brief liquidity gap while the off-chain leg clears. XRP can bridge that gap for seconds, letting the platform honor instant redemption without parking an inefficient cash buffer. End users experience a clean payout. The mechanism stays invisible. That's the aim. Reliability that doesn't advertise itself. Add the public sector angle. Not every country will ship a retail CBDC soon, but the world is converging on instant domestic rails, cross-border interoperability, and shared standards for messaging and settlement. In that architecture, public money, wholesale CBDC, private money, tokenized deposits and stablecoins, and neutral liquidity, assets like XRP, have to interoperate. Ripple's CBDC platform pilots are about exactly this. Get public and private rails speaking the same language, finalize settlement in seconds, and let liquidity routing pick the cheapest path, even if the brand names differ. Now look at XRPL's application layer with clear eyes. For years, XRPL chose payments first instead of racing for TVL trophies. With AMMs, it can place liquidity directly under payment flows. Think RLUSD, XRP, EUR pairs, where the trade is really an instant settle. Hooks and an EVM sidechain invite developers without turning XRPL into a general-purpose everything chain. The goal isn't to win DeFi popularity contests. It's to make liquidity practical at the exact points where money moves. Be honest about risks. U.S. policy is improved, but not finished. Stablecoin incumbents are entrenched. USDT and USDC have distribution and mindshare. Many institutions feel safest on EVM terrain. Tooling and staffing reinforce that bias. Governance and validator list transparency on XRPL will keep getting examined. And macro cycles matter. When liquidity tightens, adoption timelines stretch. None of these are fatal, but they're the gates your radar needs to watch. So what does 2030 look like across three scenarios? In the cautious case, RLUSD gains moderate scale. Ripple payments grows in selected APAC and European corridors. XRPL AMMs support settlement where it's obviously cheaper. XRP is used tactically, not by default. In the base case, U.S. policy clarifies for stablecoins and tokenized assets. RLUSD lands a few large payment processors and custodians. XRPL AMMs become the standard beneath Ripple-connected flows. 2 or 3 CBDC pilots reach limited live phases. XRP becomes a regular choice for instant settlement in targeted routes, still invisible to users, but consistently selected by routing logic. In the acceleration case, interoperability standards harden, banks embed stablecoins in production, a regional CBDC network runs live corridors, institutional pools for settlement liquidity deepen, and XRP is effectively everywhere in the background because cost and speed keep choosing it. You don't need to guess which scenario wins tomorrow. Track 7 signals each week. If 4 or more stay green for several months, adoption is likely compounding. Ripple payments corridors and monthly volumes. New routes plus steady growth signal real commerce. RLUSD supply and integrations. Exchanges, custodians, payment processors. Look for organic usage, not campaigns. XRPL AMM depth and spreads on RLUSD/XRP and major fiat pairs. Tight spreads under payment traffic imply practical utility. CBDC platform progress. Proof of concept Arrow limited live Arrow production corridors, especially cross-border. Tokenization headlines. Banks or asset managers citing XRPL/Metaco for digital custody or tokenized funds. Distribution power matters. Regulatory milestones. Clarity on stablecoins, custody, and tokenized assets in the US, EU, and Singapore. Less friction equals faster sales cycles. Developer momentum. Hooks/EVM sidechain usage, wallets, and third-party payments apps. You want a rising tide focused on settlement problems, not hype. Week to week, that takes 5 minutes. If the lights stay red, you saved time and capital. If they start turning green together, you're early to a system, not late to a headline. Pull it together. Ripple's under-the-table plan isn't secret, it's simply not loud. A compliant stablecoin face for UIs and regulators. An institutional custody spine for tokenized assets. A neutral settlement asset that compresses spreads and closes gaps in seconds. If those parts line up with maturing standards and real payment corridors, XRP doesn't need to win a popularity contest. It needs to work, cheaply, reliably, and invisibly, where money actually moves. That's how rails become default. Not because they trend, but because they keep clearing value without drama. This is not financial advice. It's a framework for separating adoption from attention and for knowing exactly what to watch. Track the 7 signals. If 4 of them stay green, you're probably not watching a narrative. You're watching a network settle into place.